Everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome back to my creative space. In today's vlog, I wanted to do a spend the week with me because this week, thank the Lord, I only have a 3-day work week and we have a long weekend because of the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm starting this Saturday before the 3-day work week because I wanted to get some things settled. I have like a bunch of laundry and stuff that I'm getting done before like the holiday and everything. And I wanted to start the vlog here. I just finished Air this morning by Saba Tahir, and I feel like finishing that book has really rejuvenated my joy for reading. First book that I wanted to feature in this vlog is Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I've been feeling a bit of wanting to dip my toes back into some romantasy. The first book in this duology I quite enjoyed, and I really liked the competition aspect. I don't think I will talk too much in depth as obviously this is the sequel, so there most likely will be spoilers if I talk too in depth of it. If I do want to have any spoiler thoughts, I'll make sure mark if there's any spoilers that come up when I speak on this one, but I will tell you more about the concept of the first book once I start folding my laundry, but this is the first book that I want to read this week. The second book is another sequel, and this is These Infinite Threads by Tahira Mafi. This one is the sequel to This Woven Kingdom, and I just really like Tahira Mafi's character work in that first book. This is the first time I've ever read Tahira Mafi, so I was so pleasantly surprised that I really jived well with her writing, and it just feels so oddly comforting to me because it is so fairy tale and fantastical-like, and her descriptions are just so lush, and I think the weather this week has been quite gloomy, so I think this is like the nice cuddle up in bed read kind of vibes. So this one is the next one that I have. And then this coming weekend, so I think like November 29th or something like that, Steph's Patreon, the Witchwood Apothecary, we're having a cozy-a-thon, and so I wanted to pick just 2 books to read during that time. And so the first full-length novel that I'm going to be tackling is Strange the Dreamer. I am finally going to pick this back up after putting it down for Lord knows what reason. I can't even remember why I put it down, but I got all the way up to page 200 and then I stopped. So here's to me rereading the first half and then really hopefully finishing it. Another one of the prompts is favorite genre. One of my favorite genres is fantasy, and Strange the Dreamer already kind of knocks that off. But I wanted to do a little twist on favorite genre and do new favorite genre, and I wanted to read a horror. Strange that I'm choosing horror during a cozy readathon, I know, but it is a short horror, so the one that I want to read is the horror, and this one, recently I think, the audiobook came out, and the audio is on Hoopla for me, and I know that it is set in Scotland, so they have Scottish accents, and I am 99.9% sure that the audio narrator is Scottish, so I thought, when I'm doing my little crafts, playing my little games during the cozy-a-thon, that book could be the book for me to read via audio and have my little life scared out of me while, I play possibly Breath of the Wild or do a little bit of coloring, because that just sounds very fun and like something that I want to do. And also, I've just been hearing so many positive things about the horror. All that yapping to say, I am going to go start folding my clothes, and then I'm going to start on the audio for The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I did have an Audible credit that I went ahead and used for this audiobook since it is Audible exclusive. And once I get some of my laundry folded, I can probably go ahead and do another check-in with you and then kind of go over the concept of the first book in this duology. For my first update on Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, I have started the audiobook, and we basically start off right from the ending of Serpents and the Wings of Night. And since this is a sequel, I did say that I wasn't going to go too in depth with what's happening in this one because it would probably 100% spoil what's going on in The Serpent and the Wings of Night. But I will do a rundown of the synopsis of Serpents and the Wings of Night. For that one, it's the beginning duology in this overarching series that Carissa Broadbent wants to do called The Crowns of Nyaxia, I believe. And so this is a vampire romantasy. And it starts off where the highborn king of this vampire kingdom ends up kind of finding this young human girl in this pillaged village. And so, like, everybody is dead but her kind of thing. And she is very young when the highborn king Vincent finds her. And instead of killing her or taking her blood, he ends up being very interested in her. And he ends up adopting her and taking her in as like the only human in this entire vampire court. And he nicknames her the Little Serpent, hence Serpent and the Wings of Night. So her whole life, she's basically this very fragile human in a court where she could easily die, and the only thing really keeping her alive is the fact that her father, her adopted father, Vincent, is the king. And there's this competition that happens like after every some odd time, where if you win the competition, the goddess Nyaxia will grant you anything that you wish for. And so obviously our main character Aurea is like, I am going to be in this competition and I'm going to ask her to give me powers that will keep me safe and alive in this world, I think, without turning her into a vampire. The competition kind of takes place and she meets her love interest in this competition. And like the whole time she's in this competition, she's like, there is no way that I can like anybody, get too close to them because, you know, they all end up dropping like flies. Unfortunately, this vampire man is just too handsome to ignore. And so they end up getting closer, a relationship forms, and drama happens. The end of that book, I remember when it ended, I was like, excuse me, what the hell? I had like a feel like if you've read the book, you know exactly what happens at like literally that last chapter. For me, like that last chapter, I was like, Aurea, I understand why you made that choice, but at the same time, let's think a little logically here. Like, let's take a step back and really think about things. She was like, no, girl, I'm gonna lead with the heart. And well, because what she does, we are now in this very iffy situation in the second book, which is Ashes in the Star-Cursed King, the one that I'm currently listening to. And I'm feeling like this book is going to be much more politically heavy, whereas the first book had that competition aspect. This one, I think it's so much more so the politics of the aftermath of that competition and what she plans to do now that her whole like world has shifted and changed because of the decisions she's made in the last book. I'm really interested to see how she grows as a character. Right now, she's dealing with a lot of emotion. If something really dramatic happens, oh, you know I'm going to turn on the camera and start yapping about it. But other than that, it's nice to be back in this world, and I am just interested to see if Aurea is going to screw herself over again, or is she gonna like learn from her past mistake and sit and think about her decision more thoroughly this time. We'll see. I'll see. And, you know, if I like the choices she makes, I'll also let you know. Hi, hello. I am doing a quick check-in before I go to bed. I had quite a bit of a duvet day today. My body just was not feeling well today, so I did a bit of a lay on the couch most of the day, and I read a good amount of Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I am roughly like 40% into it. Also, I'm trying out like this heatless curler thing, so I'll update you on how it looks tomorrow. Back to Ashes and the Star-Cursed King at 40%. I am really enjoying how compulsively readable this book is. This one is much more politically heavy than the first book. With book one, you kind of understood where the plot was going because you are in this competition and you know, like, what is leading us to the finale of that book is the end of that competition that she is in. Whereas in this one, you're not entirely sure what the end results are because she also is unsure of where her life is now. At this 40% mark, she is dealing so much with like unearthing truths that she was kind of kept in the dark from in the first book. And she is kind of reevaluating her opinion on people that she used to trust and like who she is in this world. And I think that exploration of Aurea's character is so interesting because, you know, before it wasn't like she lacked agency, but there was so much that was kept from her that it's like, of course, she's making these kind of short-sighted decisions because it's like, how else would she have known all of these other things that are being revealed to her now in book two? I'm enjoying like the more internal character focus of this second book. I think I'm very aware of how this is going to end, unless Carissa's like, actually, our main character doesn't deserve happiness, which would kind of be a shock to me, to be honest. Like, if she was going to just make Aurea's life completely miserable from beginning to end, that would be very sad and depressing, and I really hope that's not the case. Hopefully, I get to maybe like the 70% mark tomorrow. I do have quite a bit of work for like the last week of the month, so I definitely don't think I'll have as much audiobook time during my working hours. I'm really feeling in the reading mood, and I want to know where Aurea's story is taking her. Like, she definitely is trying to gain her footing in the situation that she's in right now, and she's trying to gain more agency and freedom in the position she's in. I'm just really interested to see not only her development in this book and where she'll end up at the end, but also her relational development and like, you know, is she going to find people that she can trust? Like, what's the vibes there? Because currently she feels very lone wolfy, which is kind of like the same reflection of where she was at in book one. You know, I think she deserves support, and I think she is just refusing that right now. And it's slightly frustrating, but it makes complete sense. But I will get going now. I will see you tomorrow. Hello, everyone. I just clocked out of work and I wanted to do a check-in of Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I just got to around like 50% of the book, and I am still having a silly, goofy time. I am enjoying the kind of banter and tension between our two leads. An update on the hair, as you saw yesterday. I think my hair is a little too short. Like, it's much flatter now, but like there was definitely like the sort of blowout wave that was going on this morning. But because my hair is so short in the back, I couldn't really put it in the rollers. And so I think that it'll definitely work, and I've seen it work on people with like shorter hair, but I think I definitely need to let it grow out for my like hair to be like at my shoulder and not just like above the shoulder. But you know, at least I'm having a good time with my book. And that's the most important thing with this vlog, right? So once I finish Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, I will give an update. I kind of stopped writing books, but I think this definitely will be a book that I enjoy and have fun with. I'm not sure if I'm going to go into the second duology of this series quite yet, but I am enjoying my time in this world. And also, I can't wait to pick up the Tahira Mafi book. So if I do finish Ashes and the Star-Cursed King tonight, I can definitely start the second book in This Woven Kingdom tomorrow during work. Hello everyone, I have some reading updates for you. I did finish Ashes and the Star-Cursed King earlier today, and I thought I was going to be able to finish it last night, but geez, it is a chunker. The one thing about this is that most of the chapters are pretty short, so it feels quick while you're reading, but then at the same time you're like, my gosh, there are so many pages. My paperback copy is like 600 pages. This one is the indie paperback, but I'm pretty sure the actual like trad pub is basically the same. But my feelings for this book have stayed pretty consistent. I've kind of not been reading books and thinking about writing them recently and just vibing with the book, and I think that's helped me like enjoy more of my reads than like having to sit and think when I'm reading it. And yeah, it's just a nice time. I would say if you like vampires, this is a great book to read. And also just the fact that the relationship is a little bit more slow burn in this duology. I appreciate that in Fanro. I think sometimes the thing that like is off-putting to me in some of the fanro that I've tried recently this year is that it is so like this instant like lusty kind of thing, whereas I think Carissa Broadbent really creates a good slow burn and development in the relationship that makes you want to root for the two characters. So this was a fun time. In the middle of my workday, I was able to start These Infinite Threads by Tahira Mafi. I'm going to keep it pretty vague, as I did with The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, because this is a sequel. This one, just from the jump, I've only read one chapter, but immediately the drama in this book is like, I kind of was like laughing because there's a certain character who's just like really losing it and like spiraling, and not that the person spiraling is funny, but their internal thoughts is just like, we're jumping from one end to another and they can't get what they're thinking straight. They're just all over the place, and it's kind of like, geez, the jump from book one to now and their feelings about other people in the book is just like, maybe let's take a breath and calm down because you are all over the place. But for the first book in this series, This Woven Kingdom, we follow our main character, Eliza, and she is like this. It's not necessarily that she's a secret princess, like she knows about her identity, but she's trying to just lay low and live life as a like serving maid. And the country Ardunia that she lives in, the crown prince hasn't like been around, and because he's like doing a survey of like borderlands and like skirmishes that have been happening and stuff, and then he comes back to the capital city and she actually works as like a servant in the capital city, and they have like a run-in on the public street and he is enthralled with her. And the reason why he's like kind of on her case is that he has this suspicion that she is a spy, and she's like, I'm not a spy, I'm just trying to lay low. But also her identity as like a Jinn princess could get her in a lot of trouble, so she's really like, Prince, get away from me. But then they kind of like connect romantically and they're like curious about each other and there's a lot of drama. The ending of the first book honestly kind of shocked me. There is like a big thing that happens with one of the characters. Um, and it obviously affects the political world that they live in, and that like genuinely shocked me. And I was like, okay, Tahir Mafi, I see what you are delivering, and that is drama, and I'm enjoying it. This one, I'm very curious because the reason why I picked this up was Erin from Booked and Busy was singing its praises, and I think she binged the 3 books that are out all in like a weekend or something like that. And there is a character that is introduced towards the end of book 1 that we see much more in this book and the 3rd book. And I'm very curious to see what all the fuss is about for that character. And we already got all that drama in chapter 1. I'm genuinely excited to see where this goes. But yeah, that one specific character who really is going through it is kind of funny to me, honestly. It's kind of funny. Like, they are genuinely spiraling and it's concerning. But at the same time, I'm like, take a breath. I understand why that person is spiraling because a lot happened towards the end of book 1. But like, calm down. Truly. Think about it before you act. But this person clearly is just like, swords out, let's fight. You know, if there's anything notable for me to say, I will let you know. And if there's any spoilers, I also will mark spoilers for when I talk about those. I am filming a quick check-in during my work break. I get early release today, which I'm super excited about. And that means I can start prepping for some of the stuff that I'm cooking tomorrow. I think I'm gonna like pre-brown my onions that I'm making for those like little French onion bites that I was talking about earlier. Check in on my reading. I am 40% into these infinite threads and I'm having such a good time. Honestly, there is so much drama and tension going on, and just our main character Eliza, I really like just being with her and like how she's navigating these circumstances that she's in right now. She's such like a kind and considerate person, but getting to see her have like this like bite and grit to her in the circumstance that she's currently in is just so fun. And like her situation is quite dire, but it makes me kind of giggle the way she is responding to this other person that she is with. And then on the other flip side of the other POV that we're looking at, that person is just really spiraling. I'm keeping the other POV vague because it could potentially be considered a spoiler. Like, this person is really going through it, and it's entertaining for me, but having to see their interaction with other people, I'm like, this person really needs to get a grip for real, because I understand that it's serious, but you aren't showing positive character to me. You are really unraveling. And I'm like, am I just so blinded by the characters like set up in book 1 that I didn't see this sort of unraveling coming to fruition in book 2? Or like, was the events at the end of book 1 that serious that they really flipped 180? I'm not sure. But, you know, it's so interesting to see somebody just really lose their shit. It creates drama, it creates tension, and it makes for an interesting story plot. But yeah, I'm having fun. 40% in. I do have a lot of food prep to do post work today, so that means that I get a lot of audiobook time. I was reading it physically with my book, and then I just checked on my library to see if they had the audiobook so I can listen to while I prep food today. It's not necessarily the most ideal way to read the book, because the narrator has like a more mature voice and these characters are a little bit younger, but it's not an audiobook that is grating on me. Like, it's not necessarily changing my perspective of the story or anything, but it is like an adjustment to be like, you are a mature person, and these people are a little bit younger than what your voice exudes. But yeah, I'm having a good time, and I'm going to get back to working so that I can clock out soon, and then we can do a bunch of audio booking while I prep. Okay, I'm here to do a check-in. Yesterday, I did not do any vlogging because I was busy cooking and all sorts of things, but I did finish these Infinite Threads, and I also started the horror. But with these Infinite Threads, I had such a fun time being back in Tahir Mafi's writing and world, and also the new character that was introduced towards the end of book 1. We get to see so much more of them in this book, and they have such an interesting character, and their tie with Eliza in this world is just so fun to watch. Like, if you've read this book, you know that their connection is quite intense, and like, she's not sure if she can trust this person or if this person is here to harm her. And there's like a lot of this back and forth and internal raging with her on like, is this person, can I trust them, and are they somebody that can potentially bring me freedom and safety, or is this person somebody that I should not trust? And it was so fun, very fun. I cannot wait to read book 3 and see where their character dynamic goes and like more of their reveal about their backstory. They were just so interesting to read about, and I'm hesitant to read book 3 right away because I don't think Tahir Mafi has put out an update with book 4. This series has 5 books, I believe, and I'm not sure, like maybe I'll wait until an announcement for book 4 comes out before I pick up book 3, because I don't want to be left on a cliffhanger with no next date in sight. And then the book that I started in the afternoon yesterday was The Horror. And I was like, okay, I don't have any like guests, like none of my family had come over yet. So I was just helping my mom prep like food and stuff. And I was like, okay, I have the audiobook of The Horror on Hoopla. So, that's what I'm going to start reading. I got to like 35%, and I think like either chapter 11 or chapter 12, something like that, there is this like kind of grotesque scene. It's not necessarily torture, but it's like this very gory, I don't even know if I can say what it is, but it has something to do with somebody's bowels and this like creature that we meet. I haven't even told you what The Horror is about, so let me backtrack and say what The Horror is about. The Horror is set in Scotland, like in like this coast side town, and basically the town is filled with older people, and as the years go by, the residents get older and they don't really introduce like younger people. Like this big American corporation is trying to buy out the land in Scotland and turn it into like this resort golf course kind of thing, to be like, wow, like you can golf on the coast of Scotland, how beautiful, blah, blah, blah. But like these residents have lived in this town their entire life, and this corporation is trying to like buy them out. And there's like a handful of older relatives that are like, you cannot take this land from us. This is like our home. This is everything that we know, and you can't buy us out. And so we follow our main character, who is this older woman. Her name is slipping my mind at the moment. Something with an M, I think. But she is our main character perspective that we're following from. And so at like the beginning of this book, she's kind of like telling us about this golf course trying to be built. And she's being offered money, and she's like, no money in the world can get me from moving here, because this is where like she fell in love, or she found her husband, blah, blah, blah. And also her husband had passed away recently, and like that is her only tie. She doesn't have that much of a connection with her son, who like lives in a completely different area. And so her and several other townspeople are like, you can't get this land from us, and they're having this sort of resistance. But this corporation obviously does not give a shit. They've been telling them like, well, you either take the money, or we're going to just slowly take over the land to the point where like you have nothing left, and you're going to just have to give it to us, and you're not even going to get this monetary reward. And so she ends up, pushing back, and they have like these town halls and whatever. And one day she like goes to the beach, and I believe the har is like the fog that comes up on, like that's the term for the fog in the area. And so she like encounters this creature in the har, and the creature starts doing things. So I'm assuming that this is a more like environmental horror, and it's interesting getting to see the perspective of like older people in horror. Like most of the horror that I've read has been like late teens to like mid 20s, the character's age, whereas this one, I know at least her neighbor is like well into his 80s, so I'm assuming she's probably like early 70s to like early 80s kind of age range. And it's interesting getting to see their perspective. But like the beginning was very like slice of life mundane. Like, obviously you are upset because these people like clearly don't value these people's lives. And like you see these older people having their life displaced, and it's very like sad and disheartening. But then it's just slice of life. Like it's not anything intense. So that scene that I was speaking of at like the 35%, I was like, the hell is happening here? Oh, also yesterday on my Libby, I got A Psalm for the Wild Bill by Becky Chambers, and that novella is only like a 4-hour audiobook. So I'm also going to be reading that today and completing that. And hopefully that can be my nice palate cleanser after I finish the horror, because I'm a little scared to see how horrific it actually gets, like on like body gore levels. That's not something I tend to enjoy too much, but I do find the narrative of the horror very interesting, getting to see like these older characters' perspective and seeing how they could potentially fight against this corporation. Who knows? But I will update once I finish the horror, and when I finish Psalm for the Wild Bill, I definitely will be finishing that today since it's so short. And then hopefully with that I could start in on Strange the Dreamer, because that is my like actual novel that I'm reading for Cozyathon. But other than that, that's all the information I have for you currently. And this will be going back on the shelf with the other Tahira Mafi books, but I will let you go now and I will check in when I have any updates. Hello, it is the next evening and I'm getting ready for the night, and I wanted to do a check-in since I didn't do another one yesterday, but I did finish Psalm for the Wild Built last night, and that one was such a nice, cozy read. It definitely is like one of those, I think in terms of like vibe and energy, it reminded me a lot of the Traveling Cat Chronicles, where there's these like little nuggets in this person's life story, and we are learning little small lessons from those little stories. So basically, we're following a tea monk, and they are kind of expanding from the monastery that they live in, and they're going to become a tea monk where they help people by serving them tea and listening to the kind of stressors that they're dealing with in their life at present. And then they kind of prescribe them a specific type of tea brew, and they sit and they listen to these people talk, kind of thing. They end up going to this forest where they meet this robot, and in their world, robots have been like freed of society and helping like human society progress, and they've just been let out into the wild to live a peaceful life and not have human interaction. Our monk sibling Dex meets this robot called Moscap, and they kind of go on this little journey together, and the journey that they take is just so wholesome, and like getting to see the world through the perspective of this robot is just so eye-opening and so heartwarming. And like, this was a book that genuinely like made me laugh, and like just was the like top definition of cozy for me. And it's not like one of those things where nothing happens. Like, they are going on a journey, and it is a fun and lighthearted read. And then this morning I caught up with Strange the Dreamer. I am about 40% in, because I think I had said before that I had started reading the book and then I stopped reading. So I kind of went through the first 40% that I had like already previously read to kind of jog my memory. And most of the stuff that has happened in the 40%, like, I do remember, so I was able to more so skim that amount that I've already read. And so I am at the 40% mark where I'm going to be reading new content, or new to me content. And I just enjoy how lush the writing is and how magical this world feels. And like, the detail and description isn't something that like takes me out of the story. It really solidifies and cements me in it much further. And I am just interested to see where this mystery of the city of Weep, like, if we're able to unravel it in this book. I know that there is a sequel to this one, and I'm wondering if this book leaves us off on a cliffhanger or if it kind of is wrapped up. So in this book, we follow Lazo Strange, who is a librarian, but when he was younger, he remembered this city that is now called the City of Weep had a different name, and he becomes so enthralled in trying to find out what the real name of the City of Weep is. And he is a librarian, and so he kind of spends his day in these books trying to find any knowledge about this city, and it's like almost his specialty in study, but like, it's not like anybody specifically is assigned to it. He's just so deeply interested in knowing more about the city. And then one day in his city, the man who is called the Godslayer comes in and is asking for a representative from the city to come back to the City of Weep with him in order to do like study or something of that sort. And so he kind of jumps on the opportunity to go because he's been so enthralled with this place and he wants to see it with his own eyes. And so it's definitely like a journey through his own character, but also trying to uncover this mystery. But thus far, it's nice to be back in this world, and I am just so interested to see where Laszlo will go. I am at the part where he's journeying towards Weep, and I think they've just gotten to the city. So I am interested to see. There is another point of view that I am wondering when the connection between that character and Laszlo will start to like come to on page, and I'm wondering what kind of repercussions that has. So I am very enthralled. I'm going to get ready for the night, clean up, do all those things, and then hopefully I will be able to settle down, get cozy, and get more reading done. Hi everyone, I am here to close out this weekly reading vlog. I originally was going to finish Strange the Dreamer, but then I looked at the raw footage that I had for this video and thought, truly, this video is long enough. So I am going to continue reading this off camera, and if you'd like to see any of my closing thoughts, you can check out my Storygraph or Goodreads. I am not reading books at the moment, but I'm sure like as end of year rolls around, I'm going to rethink all of my reads and potentially give them ratings then. But you can go ahead and check my Storygraph and Goodreads that I will have linked below. But I am 50% into this book, and I'm still really enjoying it and very interested in seeing how Laini Taylor wraps up this first novel. I'm thinking that potentially it isn't like too open-ended, but you know, I'll keep reading and I will see. In this reading vlog, I've completed 4 books. So Ashes in the Star Cursed King, I had a great time with. These Infinite Threads, also a great time. The Horror, that one I'm a little bit iffy on because I didn't quite connect with the horror elements of that book, but I did enjoy the overarching story that we followed with our main character Muriel. And then the 4th book I finished is Psalm for the Wild Built, and that one I think was such a fun and heartwarming read. And then also I am in the middle of Strange the Dreamer. I had such a good and productive reading week this week, and I think that I'm really settled in to complete out my reading year in the month of December. And with that, thank you so much for coming along with me for this week, as I did a little bit of a cooking demo for you and a bunch of reading. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you have nothing to say, in the comments below, you can write down some of the reading plans you have for the end of the year. I would love to know. And if you don't have anything else to say, you can do a crown emoji for the Ashes in the Star Cursed King and These Infinite Threads. And thank you again for coming along with me and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!